So let me ask you this, before we continue with the polls. What is it that you're looking forward to the most in this series? Well, it's the lewds, isn't it? We're not gonna show lewds, Monokuma, I told you!
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that Noby can show us lewds in the next part.
We're not gonna... Don't like, comment, and subscribe just for that, folks! Bobby, shut up and just go away. I haven't even invited you for this.
I told you many times to not call me Bobby!
Well, I'm not gonna call you Solazar either, Bob.
Alright. If not Solazar, then how about this? Nefarious.
That sounds quite... Let's show them the lewds now.
No!
Alright, let's move on to the next poll then. Who is your favorite Danganronpa protagonist? Well, I definitely have to say that Shuichi is my favorite protagonist out of all of them. Not only because of what I talked about before when it comes to his relatability and his themes throughout the story, but also a bunch of other stuff which I'm gonna talk about in the future. I'm sure I'm gonna have a topic that will entail who are my favorite Danganronpa students. And each of these characters will have their own separate topic for me to discuss in more detail. Have like an analysis ready for them. For now, I definitely have to say that I like Shuichi more than Hajime. Sorry Hajime, it happens that Shuichi has a lot more cool points in my book. Also, check this out. Makoto is in the last place, with only 1 vote. Like, even his sister got more votes than him. And he has been in, what? Danganronpa 1 as the main protagonist? Made an appearance at the end of Danganronpa 2? He appeared in Ultra Despair Girls, talking to Komaru for a bit. He was Hope Jesus in Danganronpa 3, and we see him talking to Shuichi in that flashback live memory. He has a certain level of importance when it comes to him appearing everywhere, and yet he has only 1 vote. Oh boy. 4th one. What is your favorite chapter in Danganronpa 3? This is something I'm still gonna have to think of. When it comes to what my favorite chapter is in V3, I need to think about a lot of stuff like the murder mystery aspect of it, how challenging it was, how impactful the whole trial is, the deaths, the events that led to the trial, etc. It does seem that a lot of people favor chapter 5, followed by 6 and 1 and 4, with 2 and 3 being the last ones. When it comes to chapter 6 of each entry, I like to view them as different entities, given that they are so drastically different in comparison to the rest of the games. And I can definitely see people liking both chapter 6 and 5 a lot more than the rest. Even though chapter 1 and 5 I believe did very well too in how impactful they were. Chapter 1 being my personal favorite first chapter from all games. And chapter 4, while it still has that one cliche that just doesn't want to die already, it did a very good job in having us despise Kokichi for what he did at the time, and feel quite a lot of pain for what happened to Gonta. Chapters 2 and 3, I can see why they have low votes in comparison. I do see them having some questionable things that need to be discussed in detail in the future. 5th one. What ultimate talent do you want to have? I had the feeling that the artist would end up being one of the most voted. I mean, a lot of people sure do want to become artists, I know that. I do have to question myself when it comes to the secret talent, which, as we all know, it belongs to Rantaro. Only recently I finished his free time, and we surely discussed in depth what his talent could be. I'm pretty sure people voted for his talent, one being the ultimate traveler or adventurer, cause I doubt many people would vote for wanting to be the ultimate survivor or ultimate big brother. Unless you really want to become big brothers. It's your call. Being an inventor is pretty cool. Becoming assassins, detectives, and supreme leader is really badass. A decent amount of love for the mages, which is lovely. And I did notice that during the V3 series, the ultimate anthropologist talent had quite some lead at some points, only now being in the middle. Sadly though, it doesn't seem like people want to become robots, maids, tennis pros, or aikido masters. I mean, why is it that nobody wants to be a robot? Well, I can think of multiple reasons, but it's cool though. I mean, it's a freaking robot. Now Kibo is gonna think of you all as robophobic. Being a maid is, well, it's not for everyone. Becoming a tennis pro is very, very specific, and the only people who I believe would vote for that is those who enjoy sports and tennis specifically. And the same thing for being an Aikido master. I can only think of people that do enjoy martial arts, like Aikido, karate, judo, etc., who would vote for that. Sixth one. Who would you wanna date the most? Now, I do want to mention first that the reason why Kokichi wasn't included in this was because, at the time, I really wanted to see how things would turn out without him. As we all know, Kokichi is very much favorited by the fandom, to the point where, if I had him in this particular poll, he would be taking all the votes and there wouldn't be any competition between the students. In a way, I wanted to force people into voting somebody who isn't Kokichi, and also have a more fair battle between the students. And as you can see, even to this day, things are pretty tight, which is something that I really like to happen in my polls. We definitely have a winner in the girls department, which is Himiko. People surely want to date her the most, it seems, and I am pretty happy. I believe she deserves a lot of love, in my eyes. She sure is quite a popular girl, judging by some of these polls. I mean, sheesh. There is more I can say about her, but I will leave it for a different day. For now, I want to continue by saying that Kaito and Hantaro sure have been at a tie for most voted guy for dating. If you were to ask me who I would pick out of these two, I think it's a safe bet that I would pick Kaito. Afterwards, we have Kibo, we have Kaede, Miu, Shuichi, Maki, and poor Ryoma. For me to see him as the least voted student out of everyone makes me a bit sad inside. And it's not the only time. You will see in the next poll too that he is dead last, which is a shame really. Alright, I know that there is one other poll left, but I think I'm gonna leave it for a different day since I do want to dedicate a separate topic for this poll specifically. It would take a while to talk about everything that I would like to discuss, so we're gonna leave it for a different time. Right now, I want to go into the next topic, which is... For some of you who have watched my V3 series on the channel, you probably already know what my general feelings were about the Monokubs throughout the adventure. Meh. Just a big meh. This is probably the first time I'm saying this, but me personally, I have been indifferent towards robot bears since Auto Despair Girls. Throughout the marvelous adventures that Komaru and Toko had, I really liked Shirokuma. He was nice, he helped the girls, he sacrificed himself for the safety of the two and the underground base. I had nice thoughts about him. Until we find out that both Shirokuma and Kurokuma were Junko AI. And they did what they did for hope and despair crap that I'm so sick of at this point. So yeah, one of the reasons why I didn't give two shits about the Cubs in V3 was because of my... bearism? I guess I'm gonna call it that, bearism. That the Cubs were there, working for the mastermind, and I had no hope in seeing them more than just another bunch of Junko AIs, that they are there for the sake of spicing things up. Buddies for life! Woo! I mean, the reason why I liked Monodam a lot more than the other Cubs was because he was different. He was fighting the establishment, in my eyes. I had my hopes that he would betray the mastermind and help the students. Have some meat for Monodam, even if he is a robot. I mean, some of you probably saw how disappointed I was in Monodam when the Cubs returned, because I thought he faked his death during Korekyo's execution, and that he would return to fuck Monokuma and the Monocubs in the ass, and help the students escape the killing game. But nope, he returned just like the rest, making him just as much of a pawn as the rest of them. I mean, you saw how disappointed I was in him, if you remember. I had high hopes that you would be the chosen one. It was said that he would destroy the despair, not join them. Bring balance to the force, not live in the darkness. You are my brother, Monodam. I love it. Wait, where the fuck am I going with this? So yeah, those were my thoughts that I had during the killing game. And I could just end it here and move on to the next topic, but this is an analytical city, so I want to dig a little deeper and maybe see the Monocubs in a new light. Be open-minded about them. And we are here to help you!
Eh? We cannot just leave things as is. We gotta repair our reputation by beating the shit out of the Monodam a little more. When in doubt, use violence when we need our ratings to go higher.
Please don't. I am violentos intolerant to violence.
I don't even remember why I'm here.
Are we having a party?
Monokuma? Hey, you didn't say anything about not having guests in this.
So I brought my cute little cups to spice things up.
Alright, if you guys want to help me, then tell me some good stuff about you.
Our theme song is good.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The theme song is really good. It speaks to me. I'm like, yeah, we're on a grand adventure, baby. Oh! But after a while, it did feel like the fact that it was the Cubs thing kind of devalued the song a little bit in my eyes. The song feels a bit too epic for the likes of the Monocubs. Some other people would say that they are glad that the Monocubs have what is arguably one of the best songs in the game. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to tolerate the Cubs as much.
Okay, well how about our role as the comedic foils for our father?
Even if we didn't contribute towards the story as a whole, our main purpose in the whole killing game as comedy relief surely must have had some impact towards you and the audience, right? Well, as we all know, comedy is subjective. Some people might have liked the comedy that you offered, others don't. Me personally, while I didn't care that much about you, I did find some of your moments funny in the end. But nothing to write home about, honestly. Actually, this is making me realize something about you guys and Monokuma. About how you guys appeared a lot more often during the killing game. That you were more present during the killing game than Monokuma was, who is arguably a lot funnier than you.
Oh, thanks. Don't tell him thanks. It wasn't a compliment.
I mean, remember, Monokuma was gone throughout most of Chapter 3 for the sake of having the Cubs be more prominent, for Monodam to be the leader for a short period of time, which serves nothing to the story, but it's instead used for comedic effect. And he was gone for a good chunk of time in Chapter 5 too. Although it was important for the 5th class trial to happen, so there's that. There is story importance to why Monokuma wasn't so present during Chapter 5, but Chapter 3, it felt like it was done for comedic purposes. So I guess there's something to say about what it is we want. Either we want more Monokuma, who is arguably funnier but is pretty much the same as before, or we have the Monocubs who ended up less funny, but it was something new for the cities that they tried to put in. I mean, if I were to choose, why not both? I feel like they could have tweaked things a little more to have the comedic parts work a lot better. And not just comedy, but also the connection to the students that you guys had, which was next to none.
Hey, watch your skullhead. I love my mother. Are you telling me that I had no connection to her whatsoever?
Well, first off, she wasn't your mother.
Eh? Does that mean that I'm adopted?
And second, that whole mother thing you had just came out of nowhere to me. You know what I would have done? I myself would have had you think of Miui Iruma as your mother since the beginning of the killing game. That way, you would have had some form of dynamic going on with at least one of the students. Usami in my eyes was handled great in the second killing game. Because in comparison to the Monocubs, she had a good solid dynamic with the students. She is just as much of a victim of Monokubs' killing game as the rest. She suffers a lot. She genuinely wanted to help the students. The connection that she had with Chiaki. She's just as sad when somebody dies. And it feels quite harsh when nobody trusts her, when she's actually being sincere. She interacted a lot with the characters. Which brings us to the conclusion that the Monocubs didn't really interact with the students like Usami did, but instead they interacted a lot with each other, showing us the dynamic only between the Monocubs themselves, which creates this big distance between them, the students, and the players. Thus, it makes it more difficult for us to want to connect with the Monocubs. One thing that I find funny about this is that there was one student who was paying attention to the Monocubs instead of ignoring whatever they said, and that is Himiko. She did show quite a few times that she was invested in the drama TV show that the Monocubs did that one time. And Himiko told us one morning how she was invested in it, commented on it, and told us what she wanted to see. I don't know, I find that hilarious, I don't know. There was also that one moment with her and Monotaro and her mentioning the death flags. I found that pretty funny.
So, in the end, we still haven't made any good impression on you. And I guess nothing will at this point.
Okay, there probably is nothing much here that is going to wow me, but after discussing this, I believe I feel a tiny bit better about you guys.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it is like I said, maybe you all didn't have that much importance in the story, and you didn't have that much of a strong connection / dynamic with the students, but there is something there. Like, if I am to leave my barrelism aside, you Monodam did want everyone to get along in chapter 3 when you became the new leader. And you Monotaro did help the students during the investigation of the 4th trial. And again, with the example I gave before with Himiko, your announcements were there to alleviate the sadness and chaos of the killing game a little bit. So combining all this with how horrible you were all treated by your father, it can tell us that the students weren't the only ones suffering, that you were as well, so there is that. In the end, I can't say that I really dislike you guys. You didn't do anything criminally wrong in my eyes. I know that other people will have a lot more problems with you that are even worse. There is stuff to be said about how you were handled in the story that can show laziness on the writer's side, despite them focusing a lot of time and work on you as shown in the killing game. But in my eyes, you were inoffensive. Not good, not bad, could have done a lot better. You didn't do anything that would make me angry at you from a personal perspective or from a writing perspective. Cause trust me, there are students that have done a lot worse in my eyes in terms of writing. And with that, I am gonna give you my ranking of neutral, with a shiny badge on it as well. Court is adjourned.
Yay! I think this requires celebrating. Who wants ice cream?
Yay!
I have a better reward for you kids. How about some loot?
No!